A millionaire strolls peacefully with his daughter, enjoying a rare moment of rest. But when he opens the car door, he finds a beggar girl identical to his daughter, shivering in the cold in the back seat. Despair takes hold of him, as now he doesn't know which of the two is really his daughter, until the girl herself breaks the silence and reveals a shocking truth. "Daddy, she's my missing sister." If this story interests you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tell us which city you're watching us from and we'll keep going. The late afternoon sun was tinging the city sky with orange hues as Luna Grimaldi walked through the doors of the mall carrying designer bags. At 25, she was the epitome of privilege, beautiful, elegant, and the heiress to one of the largest business empires in the country. Her long, dark brown hair swayed as she walked toward the VIP parking lot, where her father, Alex Grimaldi, was waiting for her. That day had been special. For the first time in years, her father had dedicated an entire afternoon just to her, helping her choose clothes for the trip they would take together to Paris the following week. Alex Grimaldi, always so busy with his companies and endless meetings, finally seemed to be trying to make up for the years of absence. "You look just like your mother in that dress," Alex commented as they walked, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and melancholy. The mention of her late mother made Luna smile sadly. Elisa Grimaldi had passed away when Luna was only 12, leaving a void that all the riches in the world could not fill. As they approached the car, a gleaming black Maybach, Luna felt something strange in the air, an indefinable sensation as if the universe were about to turn upside down. She pressed the button on the remote control, unlocking the doors, and opened the back seat to store the groceries. That's when his world stopped. Huddled in the corner of the back seat was a young woman who made Luna freeze. The same green eyes, the same face shape, the same delicate features. It was like looking in a mirror, except this reflection was dressed in simple clothes and had a look of deep weariness on her face. "Please," the girl whispered, her voice shaking. "I needed to find you." Alex, who had been a few steps behind checking his cell phone, finally reached the car. When he saw the scene, he dropped the phone, his face losing all color. "It's not possible," he muttered, leaning against the side of the vehicle. "Father?" Luna asked, her voice barely coming out. "Who is she? Why is she just like me?" The girl in the back seat straightened up, revealing even more of her striking resemblance to Luna. "My name is Helena," she said, her voice more firm now. "And I'm your twin sister." The world around them seemed to fade away. The sounds of the mall, the people walking by, everything became a distant blur. Luna looked at her father, expecting him to deny it, to say it was some kind of cruel joke. But Alex Grimaldi, the man who always had the answers for everything, was silent, his face a mask of guilt and shock. "That can't be true," Luna stammered. But even as the words left her mouth, memories began to flood back. The non-existent photos of her pregnant mother, her paternal grandmother's strange comments about hard choices, the way her father always changed the subject when she asked about her birth. Helena took something out of her pocket, an old yellowed photo. On it, two identical babies slept side by side in a nursery. On the back, a date and two handwritten names, Luna and Helena Grimaldi, March 12, 1999. "I grew up knowing I had a sister," Helena continued, her voice now firmer. "My mother, Isabel, told me everything before she left. She was an employee of Grimaldi Enterprises when she met our father. They fell in love, but his family never accepted it. When she found out she was pregnant with twins..." "Enough!" Alex interrupted abruptly, partially regaining his composure. He looked around, noticing that they were beginning to attract attention. "We can't have this conversation here. Let's go home." Luna was still frozen, her world spinning in slow motion. A twin sister, a secret history. Her father, who had always seemed so proper and in control, keeping a secret this big for so long. "Please," Helena begged again, her eyes, so like Luna's, shining with unshed tears. "I have no one else in the world. I just want to meet my real family." Alex took a deep breath, running a hand through his gray hair. For a moment, he seemed to age 10 years. "Come in, both of you," he said finally. "It's time to face the past." As the car left the mall, Luna looked at Helena in the rearview mirror, 1,000 questions exploding in her mind. Who was her father, really? What else was he hiding? And most importantly, how had her perfect, controlled life turned upside down in a matter of minutes? The sun had already set when they arrived. At the Grimaldi mansion, and with night approaching, Luna was sure of one thing: nothing in her life would be the same after that day. The Grimaldi mansion, imposing with its neoclassical columns and meticulously manicured gardens, looked different. Tonight, the place Luna had always considered her safe haven now held a heavy air of secrets about to come to light. Clara, the housekeeper who had worked for the family for more than 3 decades, dropped the dinner tray when she saw Helena entering the living room. Her aged face turned pale, and she crossed herself 3 times in a row, muttering incomprehensible words. "Madam Clara," Alex said firmly, regaining some of his usual authority. "Please prepare tea for us all in the library, and keep our guest discreet." The housekeeper nodded mechanically, still looking from Luna to Helena as if she saw a ghost. As she left, her hands were shaking visibly. "She knows," Helena said quietly. "She was there when we were born, wasn't she?" Alex didn't answer right away. He led the 2 young women to the library, a majestic room with floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with leather-bound books. Luna had always loved this place, but now every familiar object seemed to hold a hidden story, an untold truth. "Have a seat," he said, indicating the leather armchairs near the fireplace. Helena looked around with a mixture of fascination and discomfort, clearly out of place in this luxurious setting. "Father?" Luna began, her voice shaking slightly. Why hide this from me all these years?" Alex ran his hand over his face, a gesture Luna recognized as a sign of extreme stress. "The story is complicated and embarrassing, I admit. But you deserve to know the truth." He stood up, walking over to one of the shelves. He removed a few books and took out an old wooden box hidden behind them. Luna had never seen that box before. "In 1998, I met Isabel Rossi," he began, his voice thick with restrained emotion. "She was different from everyone else in my social circle. Authentic, passionate about life, unpretentious. She worked in the human resources department of Grimaldi Companies." Helena absorbed every word, her eyes fixed on the father she barely knew. Luna noticed that her sister had a small nervous tic, identical to her own, of twisting a lock of hair between her fingers when anxious. "We fell in love," Alex continued, carefully opening the box. "It was a true love, the kind that comes once in a lifetime, but my family, especially my father, Eric Grimaldi, had other plans for me." He pulled an old photo out of the box. In it, a beautiful young woman smiled at the camera, her green eyes, the same as Luna and Helena's, shining with happiness. She was pregnant, her prominent belly draped in a simple, flowery dress. "Isabel was considered unfit for the Grimaldi family," Alex continued, his voice now bitter. "When we found out about the pregnancy, I thought it would change everything, that my father would have to accept it. I was wrong." Clara entered silently with the tea, pouring the cups with still shaky hands before leaving. The scent of chamomile hung in the air, contrasting with the tension in the room. "What happened?" Luna asked, though part of her dreaded the answer. "Eric Grimaldi was a powerful and stubborn man," Alex replied, his voice low. "He found out they were going to be twins and he hatched a plan. He sent me on a long business trip. When I came back, you just found a baby," Helena finished, her voice thick with hurt. "And you let this happen." Alex closed his eyes, the weight of guilt evident in every line of his face. "I was a coward," he admitted. "When I got back, I was told that Isabel had disappeared with one of the babies. My father assured me that she had been given a significant sum of money to start a new life far away from here. I wanted to believe that." Luna felt her world spin. Her maternal grandmother, Elisa, had raised Luna as her own daughter after her mother had supposedly passed away during childbirth, another lie she now realized. "Mom, Isabel," Helena corrected herself, "never accepted any money. She ran away because she found out they were planning to take one of us from her. She spent years trying to gather evidence, trying to find you, Luna. But the Grimaldis were too powerful. Alex stood up abruptly, walking to the window. Night had now completely fallen over the city, and the city lights twinkled in the distance. After Elisa left, he continued, I started looking for you, discreetly, so as not to alert my father. But Isabel had changed her name, her life. It was like looking for ghosts. What now? Luna asked, her voice cracking. What happens now? Helena sat up straighter in her chair, her green eyes shining with determination. Now, sister, we have discovered the whole truth. Because there's much more to this story than our father is telling us. Alex turned sharply, alarmed. What do you mean? Mom left a diary, Helena replied, pulling a worn notebook from her bag. And the last pages reveal secrets that could destroy not only our family, but the entire Grimaldi Empire. The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, a storm was beginning to gather, distant thunder echoing like an omen of things to come. The rain was now falling heavily on the Grimaldi mansion, casting dancing shadows across the library's stained glass windows. Luna watched as Helena flipped through the diary with trembling fingers, while Alex stood, silhouetted against the window by the occasional flash of lightning. Before you read this, Helena began, you need to understand what my life with Mom was like. She took a deep breath, shifting in her chair. We grew up moving from town to town. Whenever we started to settle down somewhere, she would say we had to leave again. I never fully understood why, until I found this diary after she left. Luna leaned forward, noticing the yellowed pages and delicate handwriting that filled the notebook. Alex finally turned to his daughters, his face a mask of apprehension. March 12th, 1999, Helena began to read. Today my little stars were born. Luna and Helena, so perfect, so alike. Alex should be here, but Eric Grimaldi made sure he was on the other side of the world. Something is wrong. I've heard conversations, whispered plans. I don't trust anyone in this hospital. Alex closed his eyes, his hands gripping the back of the chair tightly. March 15th, 1999, Helena continued. I discovered today that Eric plans to separate my daughters, one to be the Grimaldi heiress, the other to disappear with a sum of money. But he does not know a mother's heart. Tonight, I run away with Helena. Forgive me, Luna, my love, for leaving you. One day, I will make amends. Luna felt silent tears streaming down her face. Beside her, Helena was also crying, but she continued reading. What scares me most is not the separation itself, but the reason behind it. Eric Grimaldi doesn't just want to keep his family's bloodline pure. There is something bigger, something related to the will of his late wife, Constance Grimaldi. Alex straightened abruptly. My mother's will, but she passed away when I was a child. March 20th, 1999, Helena went on, her voice shaking. I have obtained access to the documents. Constance left a separate fortune, larger than the entire Grimaldi Empire. But there is a clause. The inheritance can only be accessed when the first female grandchild turns 25. If there is more than one grandchild born on the same day, the inheritance must be divided equally. The silence that followed was heavy, laden with understanding. Luna turns 25 next week, Alex muttered, the realization hitting him like a bolt of lightning. That's why Helena showed up now. Mum found out about all this, Helena explained, closing the diary. She worked for years gathering documents, building evidence. She knew she needed to protect at least one of us until this moment. And why did she never seek justice? Luna asked, her voice breaking. Because Eric Grimaldi was more than just a powerful businessman, Helena replied. He built his fortune through a network of influence that stretched across every sector of society. Mum knew she couldn't fight it, not alone. Alex walked over to an old painting on the wall, depicting his father, Eric Grimaldi, in his youth. With a sudden movement, he turned the canvas around. My father has always controlled every aspect of my life, he confessed. The arranged marriage with Elisa, your separation, it was all part of his plan to maintain control over my mother's fortune. What now? Luna asked, standing up. What do we do with all this truth? Helena opened her bag again, pulling out a worn folder. Mom left everything documented. Copies of the original will, bank records, letters, enough evidence to legally contest the administration of the Grimaldi fortune. But it's not about money, she continued, looking directly at Luna. It's about justice, about acknowledging that we are a family, that we were torn apart by greed, about honoring the memory of our mother, who spent her entire life trying to bring us together. Alex finally sat up, looking old and tired. You're right. I've shied away from my responsibilities for too long. It's time to face the truth, no matter the consequences. A particularly loud thunderclap made the windows shake. In the library of the Grimaldi mansion, 3 people linked by blood and separated by fate finally began to weave the threads of a new story. There's one more thing, Helena said, her voice low but firm. Something Mother discovered about the true origins of the Grimaldi fortune, something that could change everything. Luna and Alex looked at each other, knowing that this night of revelations was far from over. Outside, the storm continued, as if the sky itself wanted to wash away the sins of the past. It was already dawn when Clara entered the library again, carrying a tray with fresh coffee. Her red eyes revealed that she had been crying, and as she served Helena, her hands trembled slightly. "Mrs. Clara," Helena called. Softly. "You were there, weren't you? The day we were born?" The housekeeper paused, looking nervously at Alex, who nodded, allowing her to speak. "Yes, my girl," Clara replied, sitting down heavily in a nearby armchair. "I was there, and I've carried that burden on my conscience for the past 25 years. Luna approached the governess, who raised her, holding her wrinkled hands. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Your grandfather, Eric Grimaldi," Clara began, her voice shaking. "He had a frightening power over people. That night, when your mothers gave birth—" "Moms?" Luna and Helena asked in unison. Alex stood up abruptly, but Clara continued. "Elisa and Isabel gave birth on the same night, in the same hospital. It was no coincidence, it was all planned by Eric." "What are you talking about?" Alex asked, his voice hoarse. "Elisa couldn't have children," Clara revealed, tears streaming down her aging face. "Eric arranged his marriage to her because of her family's fortune, but he needed an heiress. When he discovered that Isabel was pregnant with twins, he planned it all," Helena added, horrified. "He used our mother's pregnancy for his plans." "Elisa was desperate to be a mother," Clara continued. "Eric convinced her it was the only way. She faked a pregnancy while Isabel carried the twins. The plan was for each of them to have one of the girls." Luna felt the world spin. Elisa, the woman she called mother throughout her childhood, had participated in that plot. "But something went wrong," Clara continued. "Isabel discovered that Eric planned to send her away with money, keeping the 2 girls. She fled with Helena during the night." Alex staggered to his chair, his face pale. "So, Elisa, your wife, wasn't a bad person, boss," Clara said. "She loved Luna like her own daughter. In the last days of her life, she wrote something, put it in a place only she knew." Helena opened Isabel's diary again. "Mom mentions letters that Elisa wrote to her in secret." "In her room," Clara said, getting to her feet with difficulty. "Behind the Victorian mirror. There's a secret compartment." Luna quickly climbed the stairs towards the room that had belonged to Elisa, now transformed into a sort of memorial. The large Victorian mirror remained in the same place, imposing and mysterious. With Helena's help, she removed the heavy mirror from the wall, revealing a small opening. Inside, a blue velvet box held dozens of yellowed letters. "Dear Isabel," Luna read aloud, her hands shaking. "Another year passes, and the weight of guilt consumes me. Luna has grown into a wonderful young woman, but every smile she gives me reminds me of you and Helena. Eric controls everything with an iron fist, but I have managed to set aside part of my personal fortune in a secret account. One day, when the truth comes out, I want our girls to have a fair new start." "She tried to fix things," Helena murmured, tears streaming down her face. "In her own way, she tried." Alex examined the bank documents enclosed with the letters. "She left a considerable fortune, in both their names." "But there's more," Luna said, continuing to read. Eric Grimaldi built his empire on dark secrets. The true source of his early fortune came from... At this moment, the lights in the mansion flickered and went out, leaving everyone in darkness. The storm outside had intensified. "Don't move," Alex ordered, his voice tense. This isn't a simple power outage. In the silence that followed, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Someone else was in the mansion. The footsteps in the hallway approached slowly. Luna felt Helena hold her hand tightly in the darkness. The beam of a flashlight illuminated the entrance to the room, revealing the imposing figure of Beatrice Grimaldi, Luna's aunt and Alex's younger sister. "I knew this day would come," Beatrice declared, her authoritative voice cutting through the silence. "When I saw Helena entering the mansion, I knew that all the sacrifices we had made to keep the family secrets would be in vain." Alex stood in front of his daughters. "Beatrice, what are you doing here?" "By keeping you from destroying everything our family has built, brother," she replied, stepping into the room. "Dad may be gone, but his legacy needs to be protected." Clara appeared right behind Beatrice, carrying lit candles that she began to distribute around the room, illuminating the tense faces of everyone present. "There's nothing left to protect. Beatrice," Alex said firmly, "it's time for the truth to come out." Beatrice laughed humorlessly, sitting elegantly at Elisa's antique dressing table. At 50, she retained the aristocratic beauty of the Grimaldis, but her eyes carried a hardness that Luna had never noticed before. "You've always been the weak one in the family, Alex," she said, straightening her crisp blazer. "Always trying to do the right thing. But you know what happens. To empires built on truth, they crumble." "Better an end with horror than a horror without end," Helena quoted, her voice surprisingly steady. "Those were the last words my mother wrote in this diary." Beatrice fixed her gaze on Helena, studying her with interest. "You're just like your mother, you know, not just in looks, but in your irritating determination to do the right thing." "You met our mother?" Luna asked, surprised. "Oh, dear," Beatrice smiled bitterly. "I knew all the secrets. I was the one who helped Father keep everything in order, including..." She hesitated, looking at Alex. "Including the real reason he chose Elisa to marry you." Alex paled. "What are you talking about?" "The fortune Constance left," Beatrice continued, "wasn't just money. It was the key to something much greater, something Father discovered when he investigated Elisa's family before arranging the marriage." Luna held Elisa's letters tightly to her chest. What could be so important? "Land," Beatrice replied simply. "Thousands of acres of unexplored land in the interior of the country. Land that, according to ancient documents, contained one of the largest reserves of rare minerals in the southern hemisphere." "And what does this have to do with the twins' separation?" Helena asked. "Constance's will had a specific clause," Beatrice explained, standing to examine the old photographs in the room. "The heir had to be a girl, born into the Grimaldi marriage. Father couldn't risk an illegitimate daughter being entitled to this inheritance. So he forced the marriage with Elisa," Luna concluded, knowing that she could not have children, and then used Isabel's pregnancy in his plan. "Brilliant, isn't it?" Beatrice smiled mirthlessly. "Except for the part where Isabel ran off with one of the babies, of course. That nearly ruined everything." Alex approached his sister, his eyes shining with suppressed fury. "Why are you telling us all this now?" "Because, dear brother," Beatrice replied, her voice now thick with bitterness, "in 3 days, when Luna turns 25, the will be opened, and there is something you need to know about these lands." A particularly loud clap of thunder shook the windows. In the flickering candlelight, shadows danced on the walls like ghosts from the past, silent witnesses to yet another secret about to be revealed. "Elisa found out the truth before she left," Beatrice continued. "About the lands, about the forged documents, about everything. That's why she started writing those letters to Isabel. That's why she..." The sound of glass breaking downstairs interrupted his speech. Clara, who was standing near the door, let out a small scream. "They've arrived," Beatrice murmured, her face draining of color. "The real owners of the land, and they're not here to negotiate. The sound of multiple footsteps echoed throughout the lower floor of the mansion. Beatrice quickly closed the bedroom door, turning the old key in the lock. "They're representatives of the Kayapo tribe," she whispered, her usual aristocratic composure giving way to palpable anxiety. "The land, it originally belonged to them. Eric forged documents to take possession of the area." "What do you mean, belonged?" Luna questioned, her voice shaking slightly. "These lands are still rightfully theirs." Helena frantically flipped through Isabel's diary. "Here, Mom wrote about it. She discovered the truth when she worked in the documentation department at Grimaldi Enterprises." Alex took the journal from Helena, his eyes quickly scanning the yellowed pages. Isabel discovered that Father had manipulated historical records. The land was part of an Indian reservation protected by law. That's why she started investigating. Helena added, "It wasn't just about us, it was about doing the right thing." Clara, who had been watching through the crack in the curtain, turned to the group. "More people are arriving. Cars are stopping in front of the mansion." Beatrice ran, her hands through her perfectly styled hair, an unusual gesture that betrayed her nervousness. "They're the tribe's lawyers. They have evidence, original documents that Isabel helped find." "So that's why you came today," Alex confronted his sister. "Not to protect secrets, but because you knew they would come." "I tried to protect our family," Beatrice burst out, unexpected tears shining in her eyes. "Don't you understand? If these documents come to light, we won't just lose the lands. The entire Grimaldi Empire will be exposed. Years of manipulation, of forged documents. Maybe this is exactly what needs to happen," Luna declared, her voice firm. For the first time, Alex saw in her the strength that Isabel had always had. Helena approached her sister, intertwining her fingers with hers. "Luna is right. We cannot perpetuate this lie. These lands have legitimate owners, and they deserve justice." A sound of glass breaking from the lower floor made everyone jump. Raised voices began to echo throughout the mansion. "Mrs. Beatrice," a man's voice called from the hallway. "We need to talk. We know you're there." Beatrice closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them again, something had changed in her gaze. "Elisa tried to make things right before she left," she revealed, her voice low. "She gathered all the original documents, all the evidence. She kept it all in a place only. She knew. The safe behind the library panel," Clara said suddenly. "She spent hours there the last few days." Alex looked at the housekeeper in surprise. "How do you know that?" "Because she made me promise," Clara replied, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. "To promise that when the time was right, when the girls were together again, I would reveal the truth." Luna felt a tightness in her chest. Even after so long, Elisa had planned a path to redemption. "That's it then," Helena said, her voice thick with determination. "Let's go to the library, get the documents, and deliver them to the tribal representatives. It's the least we can do to begin righting the wrongs of the past." Beatrice let out a bitter laugh. "And destroy the entire Grimaldi legacy in the process?" "No, Auntie," Luna replied, meeting her aunt's gaze. "We will build a new legacy, one based on truth, on justice. That is what family truly means." Alex watched his daughters with a mixture of pride and regret. "You are extraordinary, so different from us, the Grimaldis. You are like Isabel." "And so is Elisa," Luna added softly. "She may not have been our biological mother, but she taught us about integrity, even if only through her final actions." The footsteps in the hallway were closer now. The moment of truth had arrived. "Let's go," Alex decided, unlocking the door. "It's time to face the past and build a different future." As they walked down the stairs toward the library, Luna and Helena stood hand in hand, united not only by blood, but by their determination to right the wrongs of the past. The storm outside was beginning to ease, as if nature itself recognized that a new era was about to begin for the Grimaldi family. The library of the Grimaldi mansion, once a sanctuary of power and secrets, now seemed dwarfed by so many people gathered together. The light of occasional lightning illuminated the tense faces of those present, representatives of the Kayapo tribe, stern-faced lawyers, and the Grimaldi family, finally facing their past. The panel is behind that bookshelf, Clara indicated, her shaking hands pointing to a specific section of the library. Alex and Luna began to remove the heavy volumes, revealing a carved wooden surface. In the center, almost imperceptible, was a small cavity. "The locket," Beatrice murmured, putting her hand to her neck. Elisa always wore a locket. She said it was the key to everything. Helena frowned, quickly flipping through Isabel's diary. "Here, Mom mentioned something about a necklace that Elisa never took off. She wrote that it looked more like a talisman than a piece of jewelry." "It's in the bank vault," Beatrice revealed, her voice thick with guilt. "After she left, Father stored all her jewelry there. I never understood why he made such a point of keeping that particular locket safe." "Because he knew," a deep, calm voice said from the back of the room. It was Shaman Rayoni, one of the leaders of the Kayapo tribe. "That medallion is not just a piece of jewelry. It is a sacred symbol of our tribe given to your mother as a sign of trust." Everyone turned to the elderly man, who exuded a natural dignity. His wise eyes scanned the faces of those present, stopping on Luna and Helena. "The twin daughters," he said softly, "as the ancient prophecies foretold, 2 drops of the same river, separated to one day reunite." "Did you know our mother?" Helena asked, her voice shaking. "Isabel was our ally," replied Juruna, a young indigenous lawyer who stood beside the shaman. "She discovered the truth about the lands and began to help us secretly. Elisa too in the last months of her life." Luna felt silent tears stream down her face. "So both, our 2 mothers, were fighting for what was right?" "Yes," Juruna confirmed. "And now, the circle is complete with you." Alex, who had remained silent, stepped forward. "I can go to the bank right now to get the medallion. It's time to do what's right." "That won't be necessary," a new voice echoed through the library. Everyone turned to see Clara, the housekeeper, pulling something from her apron pocket. The golden medallion glinted in the lightning. "Elisa gave it to me before she left," she revealed, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. "She said that when the girls were ready, when the truth could no longer be contained, I should give it to them." Luna and Helena approached together. The medallion was an ancient piece, with indigenous symbols carved into its surface. In the center, there was a small protrusion that fit perfectly into the cavity of the panel. "Together," Luna whispered, holding one end of the medallion while Helena held the other. The sound of the mechanism turning echoed through the silent library. The panel slid smoothly open, revealing a secret chamber. Inside were folders, old documents, and a thick envelope sealed with the Grimaldi crest. "The true story of the Kayapo lands," Shaman Rayoni said solemnly, "and proof of the manipulation that cost us our sacred territory." Beatrice sank into a nearby armchair, her entire aristocratic posture crumbling. "Everything our father built, it was based on lies," Alex finished, his voice firm. "But what we build from now on will be different." Luna carefully opened the envelope, revealing not only the original land documents, but also letters written by Elisa. The first began with words that made her heart clench. "My dear daughters, when you read this, I hope you will be together again." The morning light was beginning to creep through the library windows, illuminating the exhausted faces of those present. It had been a long night, full of revelations and difficult decisions. Luna held Elisa's letters to her chest, while Helena carefully leafed through the original land documents. "It's incredible," Helena murmured, her green eyes wide with wonder. "Mom and Elisa, they worked together for years gathering this evidence." Alex, who had spent the last few hours in intense discussion with the Kayapo lawyers and representatives, approached his daughters. His face showed the weight of the decisions he had made, but there was also a glint of determination in his eyes. "Girls," he began, his voice hoarse with exhaustion, "we have just signed the first documents to return the land to the Kayapo tribe. It is only the beginning of a long process, but it is the right step to take." Luna looked up from her letters, a mixture of pride and sadness in her eyes. Elisa knew this day would come. She wrote about it, about how she hoped we could right the wrongs of the past. Shaman Raoni, who had been observing the scene with a serene gaze, approached the group. The wisdom of your mothers transcends time and space. They planted the seeds of truth, and now you are making them flourish. Beatrice, who had been silent for hours, finally spoke up. Her usual haughty posture had given way to an expression of weary acceptance. What about the Grimaldi Empire? What will happen to everything we have built? Transformation, Juruna, the indigenous lawyer, responded firmly. The true legacy is not in the wealth we accumulate, but in the actions we take to correct injustices. Alex nodded, placing a hand on each daughter's shoulder. We will rebuild, not just the Grimaldi name, but the meaning behind it. We will use our resources and influence for worthy causes, starting with the preservation and sustainable development of Kayapo lands. Helena smiled, tears shining in her eyes. It's exactly what Mother Isabel dreamed of, using the Grimaldi, power for good. And honor Elisa's memory, Luna added softly. She may not have given birth to us, but she gave us the chance to do the right thing. Clara, who had been a silent, comforting presence throughout the evening, approached with a tray of coffee. The sun is rising, she observed, looking out the window. A new day, a new beginning. As the group gathered around the large library table, sharing their first meal of the day, there was a palpable sense of change in the air. The ancient paintings of the Grimaldi patriarchs seemed to watch the scene with stern expressions, but they no longer inspired the same awe as before. There's something else in Elisa's letters, Luna said, breaking the contemplative silence. She mentions a social project she's always dreamed of doing, but never had the courage to propose to Eric. What kind of project? Alex asked, his curiosity genuine. An educational center, Luna replied, her eyes shining with growing enthusiasm, not just for underprivileged children, but a place that could bring together different realities. She envisioned classes in indigenous culture alongside modern technology, environmental preservation programs. That's brilliant, Helena exclaimed. We can make it happen, using some of the land that will be returned in partnership with the Kayapo tribe. Shaman Raoni smiled, nodding approvingly. Ancestral wisdom and modern knowledge walking together. This is how we build bridges between worlds. Beatrice, who had been listening attentively, surprised everyone by saying, I would like to help. I have contacts at the Ministry of Education. I can help with the bureaucratic procedures. Beatrice's unexpected gesture seemed to melt away the last barriers. Soon the library was buzzing with ideas and plans, each contributing their skills and resources. Luna and Helena exchanged a knowing look. Amidst the chaos of the previous night, something precious had been born. Not only the truth about their past, but the promise of a future together, full of purpose. As the sun rose over the horizon, bathing the Grimaldi mansion in its golden light, it was as if the universe itself smiled upon this new beginning. The shadows of the past still existed, but now they served only to remind everyone how far they had come. The Grimaldi Empire was about to be reborn, no longer as a symbol of power and greed, but as a beacon of hope and transformation. The months that followed the night of revelations were intense and transformative for everyone involved. The Grimaldi mansion, once a symbol of power and ostentation, now teemed with new energy. Meetings with indigenous leaders, architects, educators, and environmentalists became routine. Luna sat on the porch with a cup of tea, watching the activity in the garden. Workers were preparing the ground for what would be the first prototype of the educational center designed by Elisa. Beside her, Helena was excitedly leafing through a book on traditional medicinal herbs. It's amazing how everything changed so quickly, Luna commented, a soft smile on her lips. Helena looked up from her book, her gaze reflecting the same mixture of admiration and nostalgia. Sometimes I wonder what Mother Isabel would think of all this. I'm sure she'd be proud. A deep, gentle voice sounded behind them. Alex joined his daughters, his eyes tired but shining with new vitality. So is Elisa. The sound of a car approaching caught the trio's attention. An elegant black sedan stopped in front of the mansion, and Beatrice got out, accompanied by a figure that made Luna and Helena hold their breath. It was Joruna, the indigenous lawyer. "I believe we have news," Alex murmured, standing to greet. The new arrivals. Beatrice, who had surprised everyone in recent months with her commitment to the repair project, seemed excited. "We did it," she exclaimed as she approached. "The Ministry of Education has approved the pilot project for the Educational Center." Joruna smiled, his eyes shining with satisfaction. "And Funai gave the green light for the partnership with the Kayapo tribe. It will be a pioneering intercultural education project." Luna and Helena exchanged emotional glances. Elisa's dream, fueled by Isabel's struggle, was finally taking shape. "But there's more," Beatrice continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "During the negotiations, we discovered something about Isabel." Helena's heart raced. What did you find out?" Joruna stepped forward, holding out a yellowed envelope. "We found this in the Funai archives. It's a letter Isabel wrote shortly before she left. She never got around to sending it." With trembling hands, Helena opened the envelope, Luna leaning over her shoulder to read along. "My dear daughters, if you are reading this, it means that you are finally together, as I always dreamed. There is so much I would like to say, so many hugs I would like to give, but time, that relentless old man, does not allow me. Luna, my ray of sunshine, I hope you grew up with the open heart and kindness that I always saw in your baby eyes. Helena, my guiding star, may your strength and determination blossom, as I always knew they would. The path I chose was difficult and lonely, but I have never regretted it. Fighting for truth and justice was the only way I could honor the love I felt for you. Elisa, in her later years, became an unexpected ally on this journey. Together, we planted the seeds of truth that I now see blossoming through you. Forgive me for not being able to reunite our family in life, but know that each day away from you was lived with the hope of a reunion, with the certainty that true love transcends time and distance. Always remember, you are stronger together. You are two parts of a whole, destined to make a difference in this world. Use the influence of the Grimaldi name for good, to right injustices and build bridges where there were once walls. With all my love, forever. Mommy Isabel. Silent tears streamed down Luna and Helena's faces. Alex, reading over his daughter's shoulders, felt a mixture of guilt and admiration for Isabel's strength. She knew, Luna whispered. Even in the end, she believed we would meet. Helena hugged her sister tightly. And she was right. We are. Here together, making her and Elisa's dream come true. Beatrice, watching the scene with teary eyes, cleared her throat slightly. There is one more thing. During the research for the educational project, we found records of volunteer work that Isabel did in riverside communities in the forest. What kind of work, Alexi asked, intrigued. Literacy and basic health, Joruna replied. She used her administrative knowledge to help communities organize and demand their rights. Luna felt a warmth spread through her chest. It's perfect. We can incorporate this into the design of the educational center. Expand beyond Kayapo lands, create a support network for traditional communities throughout the forest. The Isabel legacy, Helena murmured, a smile lighting her face through her tears. Alex nodded, a new determination in his gaze. We'll make it happen. We'll use all of the Grimaldi's resources and contacts to make it happen. As the group gathered to begin planning this new phase of the project, the gentle afternoon wind seemed to whisper promises of a bright future. At the Grimaldi mansion, once a bastion of secrets and power, a new era of cooperation, learning, and reparation was dawning. Luna and Helena, hand in hand, felt that they had finally found their true purpose. The Grimaldi blood that ran through their veins was no longer a burden of secrets, but a powerful tool for change and redemption. The Amazonian sun shone brightly over the construction site of the Isabel Elisa Educational Center, as Luna and Helena had decided to call the project. The modern structure, yet perfectly integrated into the surrounding nature, was beginning to take shape. elements of indigenous architecture blended harmoniously with cutting-edge sustainable technologies. Luna, wearing a safety helmet over her long brown hair, walked around the site accompanied by Juruna and a group of Kayapo leaders. She gestured excitedly, explaining the details of the project. Here we will have the central library, with a bilingual collection in Portuguese and the Kayapo language. And in this wing, she pointed to a circular structure, will be the center for research into traditional medicine, combining ancestral knowledge with the most recent scientific discoveries. Shaman Raoni, who was following the group with a serene smile, nodded in approval. It is good to see the knowledge of our ancestors being honored and preserved in this way. Across the lot, Helena was coordinating a team of local biologists and farmers. They were developing a community garden that would not only be a source of food for the center, but also a living laboratory for sustainable farming practices. We are using permaculture techniques, Helena explained to a group of interested Kayapo youth. This allows us to grow food in a way that is harmonious with the local ecosystem. Alex, who watched his daughters from afar, could not contain his pride. In just a few months, Luna and Helena had not only embraced the project, but had taken it to levels he had never imagined possible. Beatrice approached her brother, offering him a bottle of water. Over the past few months, she had become a surprisingly dedicated ally to the project. "It's amazing, isn't it?" she commented, following Alex's gaze. "Who would have thought the Grimaldi Empire would turn into something like this?" Alex smiled, a mix of nostalgia and satisfaction on his face. "Isabel and Elisa always saw the potential for good in our family. We're just realizing what they always knew was possible." A helicopter flew over the site, landing in a nearby clearing. Representatives from the Ministry of Education and UNESCO descended from it. The project had attracted international attention, being considered an innovative model of intercultural education and sustainable development. Clara, who had decided to move with her family to follow the project, approached Luna and Helena with a contented expression on her wrinkled face. "Your mothers would be so proud," she said, tearing up. "You both dreamed of a better world for you, and now you are building a better world for so many others." The sisters exchanged a knowing look, their hands naturally meeting. Despite growing up in such different worlds, their connection was undeniable and deep. "We have received news from the Yanomami village to the north," Juruna said, approaching the group. "They are interested in replicating part of the project on their land." "This is wonderful," Luna exclaimed. "We can use the structure we're creating here as an adaptable model for other communities." Helena nodded enthusiastically. "And not just in the forest. Imagine the possibilities if we could take this concept to other regions of the country, to other traditional communities." Alex, who had joined the group, placed his hands on his daughter's shoulders. "The sky's the limit, girls. The Grimaldi's resources and influence are at your disposal to make this dream grow." At that moment, a group of Kayapo children ran past, laughing and playing. They stopped briefly to greet Luna and Helena, their eyes shining with wonder and hope. "It's for them that we do this," Helena said softly, "so that they can have a future where their traditions are valued, but also have access to the opportunities of the modern world." Luna nodded, feeling a wave of emotion wash over her. Mother Isabel fought for justice her whole life. Mother Elisa dreamed of a more equal world. We are honoring both of them by creating this space for transformation. As the sun began to set, painting the Amazon sky with shades of orange and pink, the group gathered for a moment of reflection. Page Raoni led a brief ceremony, thanking the spirits of the forest and asking for blessings for the project. Luna and Helena, holding hands, felt a deep connection not only with each other but with everything around them. The Grimaldi legacy, once tainted by secrecy and greed, was being rewritten. Every brick of the educational center, every seed planted in the community garden, every smile on the faces of local children was a step toward a more just and harmonious future. As the stars began to dot the night sky, Luna couldn't help but think that somehow Isabel and Elisa were there, smiling down on their daughters and the world they were helping to build. The auditorium at the Isabel Elisa Educational Center was packed. Indigenous leaders, politicians, environmentalists, journalists and curious onlookers from around the world gathered for the official opening ceremony. On stage, Luna and Helena Grimaldi prepared to give their speeches, their hands clasped in a gesture of mutual support. Luna, dressed in a smart navy blue suit, was the first to approach the microphone. Her gaze swept over the diverse audience before she began. "A year ago, I didn't know I had a sister. A year ago, the Grimaldi name was synonymous with corporate power and wealth. Today, we are here to celebrate not only the opening of this educational center, but the birth of a new paradigm." She paused, her eyes meeting Alex's in the front row. He nodded encouragingly. "This project is not just about education or environmental preservation. It is about reconnection. Reconnection with our roots, with the ancestral wisdom that we have ignored for so long. It is about building bridges between worlds that seemed irreconcilable." Helena joined her sister at center stage, her emerald green dress contrasting with Luna's suit, but complementing it perfectly. "When we discovered the truth about our history," Helena continued, "we could have chosen the path of resentment. Instead, we chose to honor the legacy of our mothers, Isabel and Elisa, women who, each in their own way, fought for a more just world." In the audience, Page Raoni and other indigenous leaders listened attentively, their faces painted for the occasion. Juruna, sitting next to Beatrice, smiled proudly. Luna took the floor again. "The Isabel Elisa Educational Center is not just a building. It is a symbol of what we can achieve when we choose collaboration over competition, understanding, over prejudice." Here, Helena continued, indigenous and non-indigenous children will learn side by side. They will study mathematics and physics, but they will also learn about medicinal herbs and ancestral cultivation techniques. Scientists will work in cutting-edge laboratories, while shamans will share ancient knowledge about the forest. Alex, watching his daughters, felt an overwhelming emotion. He thought of Isabel, of Elisa, of all the choices that had led him to this moment. For the first time in his life, he felt that the name Grimaldi truly meant something noble. Luna continued, "But this is just the beginning. We already have plans to expand the model to other regions, not just in Floresta, but throughout the country. We want to create a network of centers that promote education, sustainability, and cultural appreciation." "And we won't stop here," Helena added enthusiastically. "We are in talks with governments and international organizations to take this concept to other countries, to other traditional communities around the world." The sisters' words were met with a thunderous ovation. Journalists rushed to take notes, cameras filmed incessantly. When the applause died down, Luna and Helena made a gesture, inviting Alex, Beatrice, Clara, Juruna, and Page Raoni to join them on stage. "This project would not be possible without the joint efforts of many people," Luna said, "each bringing their expertise, dedication, and vision for a better world." Helena picked up 2 small ceramic urns decorated with kayapo symbols. "Before we cut the ribbon and officially open the center, we would like to pay a special tribute," Luna continued. "In these urns are the ashes of our mothers Isabel and Elisa. With the blessing of the Kayapo tribe, we will plant 2 trees in the heart of the center, nourished by these ashes, a living symbol of the legacy they left us and that we will continue to cultivate." Shaman Raoni stepped forward, his deep voice echoing through the auditorium. "May the roots of these trees intertwine, just as the lives of these women intertwined. May their leaves nourish the knowledge that will flourish in this sacred place." As the group left the stage to perform the planting ceremony, the audience followed them in a silent and respectful procession. The air was charged with excitement and anticipation. In the center of a beautiful circular garden, 2 graves had been prepared. Luna and Helena, each holding an urn and a native tree sapling, stood there. "For you, Mother Isabel," Helena whispered, depositing the ashes and the tree. "For you, Mommy Elisa," Luna murmured, doing the same. As the earth was gently replaced, covering the roots and ash, a gentle wind blew, causing the leaves of the surrounding trees to rustle. For many present, It was as if the forest itself was welcoming this new chapter. Alex, watching his daughters, felt a peace he had never felt before. The empire his father had built with greed was being transformed into something truly great. No longer towers of concrete and steel, but a living, breathing legacy that would grow and spread like the roots of newly planted trees. As the sun set over the Amazonian horizon, bathing the educational center in golden light, Luna and Helena stood hand in hand, their shadows merging into one. The future, once uncertain and bleak, now opened up before them, full of possibilities and hope. 5 years have passed since the opening of the Isabel Elisa Educational Center. What began as an ambitious project in the forest had transformed into a global network of learning and cultural preservation centers. Luna Grimaldi, now 30, watched the sunset from the terrace of one of the new centers. Her gaze swept across the landscape, where modern architecture blended harmoniously with traditional building techniques. Helena joined her, handing her a cup of local herbal tea. The sisters, inseparable since their reunion, had become symbols of a new era of social and environmental responsibility. "Can you believe all we've accomplished?" Helena asked, a soft smile on her lips. Luna shook her head, still in awe. "Sometimes it feels like a dream, but then I see the children in the centers, the researchers working side by side with shamans, and I realize it's real. We really are changing the world." The sound of children's laughter reached them. In the courtyard below, a group of children of different ethnicities played next to a sensory garden, learning about medicinal plants in a fun and integrated way. "Mommy. Isabel and Mommy Elisa would be proud," Helena commented, her voice thick with emotion. As if in response, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves of the 2 twin trees that had been transplanted from the original center to this new location. The trees, nourished by Isabel and Elisa's ashes, had grown intertwined, their branches stretching protectively over the center. Alex appeared on the terrace, his hair now completely gray, but his eyes shining with renewed vitality. "Girls, we have a visitor." Behind him, Beatrice entered, accompanied by a figure that made Luna and Helena smile broadly. It was Jaruna, now Minister for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. "I came to personally deliver the news," Jaruna announced, barely containing his excitement. "Your educational model has been officially adopted as national public policy. All states will have centers like this within the next 10 years. The news was greeted with emotional hugs and tears of joy. The dream that had begun as a form of family redemption had turned into an educational and cultural revolution. "That's not all," Beatrice added, her face beaming. "The UN is interested in implementing the model in other countries. They want you to present the project at the next General Assembly." Luna and Helena looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. They had come a long way since that fateful night when they first met. "You know," Luna began, turning to the group, "when we discovered the truth about our family, about the Grimaldi Empire, I thought we would be carrying a burden forever." Helena nodded, completing her sister's thought. "But we turned that burden into wings. We used the resources and influence we had not to elevate ourselves above others, but to elevate everyone together." Alex approached his daughters, putting an arm around each of them. "You have redefined what it means to be a Grimaldi. It's no longer about power or wealth, but about responsibility and transformation." The sun finally set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The first stars began to dot the sky, like small beacons of hope. Jaruna joined the group on the porch, her gaze scanning the horizon. "You have not only honored your mother's legacy, but created something entirely new, something that transcends families, cultures, and borders." At that moment, as if orchestrated by fate, a group of children from the center approached, carrying handmade lanterns. They began to sing a song in a harmonious blend of Portuguese and indigenous languages, an anthem of hope and unity that they had composed themselves. Luna felt tears of emotion well up in her eyes. She remembered the scared little girl she once was, living in a bubble of privilege, disconnected from her roots and her true family. Helena, As if reading her sister's thoughts took her hand, she too had come a long way, from the girl who grew up in uncertainty and fear to the confident and determined woman she had become. The two sisters, so similar and yet so unique, were living proof that destiny can be rewritten, that bonds can be reconnected, and that love, whether from biological mothers or from the heart, has the power to transcend all barriers. As night fell over the educational center, bringing with it the promise of a new dawn, Luna and Helena Grimaldi knew their journey was far from over. Each day would bring new challenges, new opportunities for learning and growth. But now firmly anchored in their roots and with their eyes on the future, they were ready for anything. The legacy they were building was not just for themselves or their families, but for an entire world that was, step by step, blossoming into a more just, wiser, and more connected place. And so, under the starry sky, surrounded by those they loved and the fruits of their labor, Luna and Helena Grimaldi finally felt at home. A home that extended far beyond the walls of any mansion, encompassing forests, savannas, mountains, and above all, the heart of every life they had touched on their journey of redemption and transformation. The tomorrow they were building was bright, full of possibilities, and most importantly, it was a tomorrow shared by everyone.